My fall tour officially has a name. We are calling it the Momsplaining Tour. Hopefully I don't have to explain that reference. Do you think mansplaining is out there in the culture enough that people know momsplaining? Just say yes, Caitlin. I've had a hard summer.
Yes.
Okay, good. It's understandable to everyone. Great. That was the answer we are looking for. I am coming to Nashville, Atlanta, Tulsa, which is a new city for me, Boston, Hartford, San Diego, new city, Irvine, new city, Seattle, Portland. I've had shows in the other cities, but not for a long time. So, Nashville, Atlanta, Tulsa, Boston, Hartford, San Diego, Irvine, Seattle, Portland. Get your tickets at jfcomedytour.com. And we have a big announcement. Hit the big announcement sound effect. After 6 years of me giving out the jfcomedytour.com URL and knowing that it only works for some people some of the time, I actually redid the domain redirect situation so that it will work for everyone now. And that it only took me 6 years. That's like the time. I don't think you know this lore about me. Did you know that I had earrings stuck in my ears for 12 years?
No.
I made the news.
What?
But yeah, it actually, it was in USA Today, because I just put it on Instagram and people picked it up. Because, you can clean them. You put the stem was long, so I was able to take care of them. But, I just didn't have a chance to deal with it because that's how busy I was. I was so busy. I did not have time to deal with it. So you think jfcomedytour.com is actually going to work for everyone? I don't have time for that. But finally, I had time this past weekend. I was going into the A-name records in the domain. And so for those of you who have tried it in the past and you've looked at despair at the error message and said, Jen, I don't think the comedy millions will be here as soon as you would like for them to be here if you can't get this URL to work, if it only works about half the time. And I said, I hear you. And now it is actually working for everyone universally. Check it out, jfcomedytour.com. It actually works now. Very, very, very exciting. And I'm very excited about these cities that I'm going to. These shows are going to be so much fun. They always are. These shows are a blast. And one cool thing about coming out to my shows is there is a real sense of community because the worldwide fame and riches are not quite here. I do have a very specific audience that shows up to my show. It's not like the general audience, people from your city. It is people in your city like you. We've talked about having some kind of sign up sheet or something like private Facebook group or something so that people can connect with each other after shows. I like the idea. I just can't have one more thing on my plate. So maybe, like getting my domain name working, I will be inspired to actually get that working at some point before the first tour date. The first one is Nashville, and that's September 17th. Oh, one final thing before I set up the topic, and this applies even if you're not in one of the cities that I'm going to this fall, although you might be because we're adding cities. Sometimes you guys ask, can I share the link to the page of your event with my local groups, with the moms group, the homeschool group, the Catholic group, whatever? Yes, please do. Because let me explain to you how Comedy Tour promotion works for everyone else. They say, oh, I have a tour. It sure is frustrating when I go to a city. Let's say I'm going to one from this list. I'm going to Irvine, California. What fun. And you go, you have this incredible show. It is a magical evening. And then you post on social media just a clip the next day and you have 2 comments. Jen, come to Irvine. We'll bring the whole squad. It's like, oh, it's going to turn me into the Joker. So what most people do to avoid that is they say, you know what? I'm just going to think of one of my 4 friends who has a podcast that every single episode gets 700,000 views on YouTube. And I'll just text them and be like, hey, buddy, got a tour coming up. Could we promote it on your podcast? And they're like, yes, immediately. Just you name the time and the place. You can do it. And then hundreds of thousands of people hear about it. And then they don't have that problem. I am not quite as connected in the comedy podcast scene. Perhaps because of some of my views, could be that I don't fully click with some people in their views. So it's a tremendous help to me. If you guys, even if you can't make it yourself, if you post to like-minded people, again, the moms group, the Catholic group, my shows are clean when my openers have a brain and can understand what this word means. I'm working on this. I mean, we write it down. We write it down. Yeah. We're like, TV clean, no cursing, no sexual content. Anyway, my shows are clean. My set is always 100% clean. It's general audience. I don't go into politics or controversial stuff. So you don't need to worry about promoting it and people coming back like, I just did not like that stuff she said about, the stuff she said about politics. That was, the Biden Trump thing. That was crazy. It's nothing like that. It's very general. It's like Nate Bargatze kind of general audience stuff. Okay, so anyway, here's what we're talking about today. I feel like I've buried the lead on this. And by buried the lead, I mean, this is the 264th episode of this podcast, and it should have been the first episode. I have been sitting on a gem that I think Caitlin will think, like, where were you on this for our whole friendship? You guys will think that. It dawned on me that my mother-in-law, God rest her soul, Yaya, she was the master. She was the Albert Einstein of being a great parent with very, very, very limited resources, with no time, no money, less than no time, less than no money, and achieved a very successful outcome for her child. You guys know my husband went to Yale and Columbia and Stanford. And that's amazing how little he wants to work. Given that, I mean, you would think, wow, he must be really big in the corporate world. No, he is, he's like Joe. I think Joe wants to be a kept man. He is, he'll show me soft life content. And I'm like, oh, honey, you want me to live a soft life? And then I realized by his reaction, no, I think Joe's ready for the soft life. Like, he wants to be in his bunny slippers and have someone bring him champagne while I'm out making the comedy millions. So that there's a plot twist we didn't see coming, but he did, he could have done a lot with all those degrees, but they came from utter poverty. I mean, no one in my mother-in-law's family had an education. She was pulled out of high school to literally work in the fields all day, every day. They didn't have running water in her house growing up. They had to use an outhouse. And also there were just some bad situations, very toxic situations in her family of origin. And then Joe's dad was not part of his life. He exited the picture when Joe was 4 years old. And when I say his mom had no time, no money, I mean, I want to say, I mean, this was the 80s, but there was one year he saw her income tax statement and it was like she made $18,000. Not a lot, even in the 80s. And it wasn't like tax fraud. Like there was a lot that was off the books. Like, no, that's what she made and what she was trying to raise her kid on. And this was also before child support laws were enforced. So she was not getting child support for many years. Because Joe just had her, my husband just had her. I mean, he had many sports games where there was no one there to cheer for him because he had to work, his mom had to work. And, like other kids had, their whole family there to cheer for him and he had no one. And he really does not have issues. I mean, he is a very emotionally solid person, great husband, loving father. I mean, he came through all of that unscathed. She did a very good job of helping him as a child get through the difficult things that they had to get through, such as nobody being able to be there for his sports games. And also just being broke as a joke, just having no money. She did an incredible job of having a kid who thrived in spite of that. And I think a lot of the pressure that a lot of us are under, even if we are in totally different situations than Yaya was, that a lot of that pressure is we don't have enough time, we don't have enough money, and we are worried that we are messing up our children's lives. And so I've been doing a lot of just kind of writing and thinking and journaling about what did Yaya do that worked so well to achieve a 10 out of 10 outcome when she had 1 out of 10 circumstances? And I realized there is actually a lot to be learned here. That even if you're one of my billionaire listeners, and money's not an issue, but I guarantee I have known people who are very wealthy and raising kids. They're as stressed as any of us because they have other things going on, and everyone feels like they don't have enough time. So I think that these principles will really bring you a lot of peace. And I wish Yaya were still here to give you guys a masterclass. We could have her on the podcast. She'd be yelling at you. She'd be cursing a lot, but you would learn a lot. I mean, the quintessential Yaya moment is one time, she was on a tear about something she wanted fixed at her house. So she had Joe and the kids take her down to Home Depot. And this was, they got back at, I don't know, 11:30 a.m. and nobody was talking. It was all silent. And Joe opened the fridge, got out a bottle of wine from the night before, poured a glass, take a long gulp. And as he gazed into the distance, he said, "This is not a day that the manager of Home Depot shall soon forget." And that was Yaya. That was Yaya. And if you'll pardon my language, a little bit of language warning here. Another time she wanted to go to Luby's. She felt like that was a great place to eat dinner. So we went there and we took all the kids, and she didn't like the service she was getting. And so she asked the manager, and you guys know me, I'm surprisingly non-confrontational. I just want everyone to be happy. And so I was the manager comes over. I'm like, it's fine. It's not a big deal. And she shouts so that the whole Luby's can hear us. She says, "That server is more useless than tits on a boar hog." Again, pardon the language, but you get there's no euphemism for that. And everyone at Luby's is staring at us, and then I'm thinking, wait, boar hogs can't have, like, why are they? I guess are they all male? I mean, I don't know. So I'm dissociating, and the manager's like, "Oh, I thought the redhead was my ally, and now I am off in space. Like, why can't boar hogs have mammary glands? I don't get it." And she's hooting and hollering and yelling. And anyway, we had to leave is the upshot of that. So that was my mother-in-law, but she did a great job. She was the Albert Einstein of getting a wonderful outcome for your kids when you have no time and no money. And there's also some points kind of related to this. Even if you are, again, let's say you're financially blessed, you are able to stay home with kids, and you don't have quite the same dire circumstances that she did. There are some really encouraging lessons for you. You might benefit more than anyone from hearing this. So that will be the main topic. As usual, we hit the main topic in the latter part of the show. After I set it up here at the beginning, I do some intro topics, and then we circle back to this main topic. And that is how we do it here on the Jen Fulwiler Show. This is the podcast where you learn the art of the village hustle. That's being a hot girl boss, or a hot boy boss, who knows that love and family and community are the foundations of all true success. I am your host, Jen. I am a stand-up comic, best-selling author, and mom of 6. We are coming to you from Austin, Texas. We publish new episodes every single Wednesday morning. Caitlin White is our lovely producer, and you can sign up for the Patreon at patreon.com/thisisjen. And actually a couple of things that I want to highlight on the Village Hustle Patreon is a level of my Patreon. It's a weekly kind of mini masterclass. And when in episode 98, I was talking about this 7-point outfit sort of selection system that is so simple, but it's so good. I love it. That is episode 98. And then so in episode 100, just so that you guys understand what I'm doing over on the Patreon and how it's different from the podcast, I bring you into the behind the scenes for a lot of things that I talk about on this podcast. And and it's more informal. I bring you into those informal moments. So what we did in episode 100 that came out this week is I had you guys on the Patreon watch me in real time come up with this tour name. So at the beginning of the episode, I had nothing. And by the end of the episode, I came up with Momsplaining, and I did it using my all-time favorite book. There's this naming book that it works every time. Every time I've named anything, my comedy specials, my tours, anything, this book, boom, it gives you, it's the greatest brainstorming book ever. So I was using that. I was walking you guys through that. But here is a clip of just what, like me trying to pull this name together. I'm sitting at the kitchen table. The kids are around. I've brought Chat GPT into it. And just so you know, because my life is a mess, my laptop screen is also a mess. Keep that in mind. that comes in later. So this is an excerpt from the Village Hustle Patreon episode 100.
JT, what does Chads mean? Chat GPT is telling me I could call my tour No Cap, Just Chads. What is Chads? Okay, his answer is that it means that I'm very Sigma. JT, what does it mean to be very Sigma?
This is Chad.
Oh, okay. So this is like a Chad, and now Pammy's here.
No, this is Chad.
This is Chad. So no cap, just Chads.
Yeah.
Oh no, it says chaos. My screen is so dirty. I thought it said Chads because.
So there you go. Oh, that would be amazing if I called my tour No Cap, Just Chads, and it turns out there was a spot on my screen that made the O in chaos look like a D. So that is the kind of stuff that you get on the Village Hustle Patreon, and the link is in the show notes. Patreon.com/thisisjen. All right, we're in August. This is the time of year where I start to really, really kick it into gear to avoid parent volunteer obligations. And people are like, Jen, you should contribute. Should I, though? Should I? I think that there should be a buyout option for parent obligations so that you can be like, here's $50. You're never going to see me again. But your organization will be in my thoughts and prayers. And I do wish you well. Because I'm not good at this. You guys know I'm not good at this. When it was my turn to bring snacks to Vacation Bible School, the kids learned about fasting that day. I'm not good at this. I mean, but then again, I mean, it's not like I can pay $50 for each one of my kids. I mean, the pearls are from Shein. Like, I don't, that's probably not the solution that I think it is. But you know what? I would get a job just to get out of the parent volunteer obligations because, I mean, you guys know me and my neurodivergence. I don't ever understand what I'm supposed to be doing. Some people follow me from Lino Rule's show, which is on Sirius XM. I'm a regular guest there, and we often do games, but it's radio, so they're games that you can do that you don't need visuals. And it is a running joke how little I understand their games. I never understand what's going on. I'll ask them. His producer's name is Tyler. And one time, halfway through the game, which I was winning, by the way, I said, are Tyler and I on the same team? And they lost it. You know what? I have that audio somewhere. I should play that on one of the episodes. They just lost it because they were like, how are you halfway through this game and winning it and you don't even understand? So that's like me with parent obligations. They'll be like, you're in charge of the origami folding station, and I'll be, using scissors, but you weren't supposed to use scissors. And we really, not that I could really afford it, but we have to have a buyout option for parent obligations. And Caitlin, what do you think of this weather as I drink from my drinking apparatus, which takes fully 30 seconds, but I have to commit to the bit?
I don't know. I'm wearing a sweater in like 95-degree heat because I have no sense of anything.
Well, you have to in Texas, because we actually in Texas use the exact same rockets that got Apollo 13 to the moon to power our air conditioning.
Yeah.
So you seriously, in Texas, you have to bring your winter parka if you're coming here in the summer, because it is going to be freezing cold in our buildings. Freezing cold. By the way, this mead horn that I've been drinking out of, is that dishwasher safe? I mean, can you put your mead horn in a dishwasher?
I'm gonna say no.
It occurs to me, I don't think they thought anyone would actually drink out of this.
Probably not.
I think it's for display. I think it's supposed to be, because there is a certain, like, when you drink out of it, the taste is not actually great. As I've been drinking out of it, I'm like, I think this is an actual animal horn. But I have to commit to the bit. So
we're in it.
If I end up with mad cow disease, then I should not have been drinking from that mead horn, even though it is a great running joke on the podcast. Let's talk about family culture and how observing the people in your family and what leads them to thrive can help you understand what kind of family culture you have. For example, I was talking to my personal trainer, amazing woman, Dana, and she is a personal trainer and her husband is an outdoorsman. So not surprisingly, their son is really into sports. He loves being super active outside, playing sports. He takes the sport that he plays very seriously. And that is their family culture. They are a sporty, outdoors family. And I think one of the mistakes that a lot of us can make in parenting is we don't identify our family culture, so we try to do it all. For example, in our family, one of the things we've realized is that none of our kids have really thrived in traditional sports. We've had a couple of them, golf team at one point, and one of my kids might be on track, but we are not a family that just is really equipped to be out at the soccer game every single Saturday. And it feels like that's what we're supposed to be doing because that's what everyone does. But it's really, we did that for a few years because we thought, well, you have to make your kids play sports. That's just what the deal is. And then when one of my kids kept running the wrong way on the soccer field. And at one point when they were getting really close to the goal, this kid was just kind of tying their shoes and picking flowers. It was like, maybe they are not a natural fit for this sport. Maybe this is not something that they are naturally connecting with. And so we started to be intentional about what kind of people are we. Obviously, there are different interests, different people within our family that like to do different things, but you can usually identify an overall tone and an overall culture. And it is very helpful to do that because it helps you make your trade-offs. So for us, we really don't feel guilty at all about not having our kids play organized sports anymore because we are into other things. For example, we're into sailing. That's our thing kind of as a family. And that is something we push the kids to do. We don't force them to do it, but we strongly encourage them to go to sailing camp, learn how to sail. We go out on the ocean when we're in Houston. And so that's more our vibe, is going out with a little crudité, a little charcuterie out on the boat on the ocean. Our boat is not fancy, but it'll have some charcuterie. We'll have some drinks out there, and so that helps us to know. We spend some money and some political capital with our kids. By political capital, I mean when you convince someone to do something they don't have to do. And you don't need them to do, but you want them to do, that's spending political capital. So we invest the expenditure of some money and some political capital and a fair amount of time into sailing because we have decided that's part of our family culture. We're kind of a sailing family, even though I don't know a lot about sailing, but I know a lot about drinking fancy drinks on boats. And I believe that is a tangential skill that jibes very well with my husband's love of sailing. So that's what I mean about family culture. If there were to be a sailing camp that we got a really good deal on and was best of the best or whatever, we might push more for some of the kids to go to that as opposed to a soccer camp, because we now know to make those kinds of trade-offs. So here's the story that's leading up to this. I do need the mead horn for this. I think I'm probably going to get a couple of diseases from drinking for that. I don't think this was actually meant to be drank out of, but There's
probably at least a few warnings on there.
Yeah, I didn't read the box. So I'm sure the box was like, do not put this anywhere near your mouth. But my life is so epic. I have to drink out of a mead horn. Okay, this. So you say, Jen, how do I find my family culture? Look for things in your family that you guys not only do, but you naturally gravitate to, that stand out to you, where you say, I don't see most of our friends doing this. I don't see most of our neighbors doing this. That could be a key, that this is telling you something about the personalities of your family and your family culture. For my husband's birthday, this was such a moment. So I did seamless. I hit the seamless tapestry sound effect. It didn't even occur to me how well this fits in with our main topic of my husband's mother and the way he was raised and all that. So obviously, my husband was raised to be a high achieving person, and like many high achieving people, he has many good qualities. Patience is not one of them. It is not his strong suit in any way. And I came to notice I am also very impatient, and so are almost all of our children. Now he is the intergalactic gold medal winner, all high. No one's more impatient than he is, but we're close. I mean, we are hanging in there. So, and he is also not into any sort of frivolous, sentimental things, gift giving. You guys have seen that he, one of the times I went viral on Twitter back in the day was, my Christmas present was in an Amazon box, and he just wrote Jennifer on it in marker and put it under the tree, and genuinely didn't see what the big deal was. He was like, what? You're going to get the present either way. What do you care? And so, yeah, any kind of touchy-feely doesn't care at all. So for his birthday, normally we keep birthday parties pretty simple unless it's a big occasion. But normally we'll have some cake, we'll have some present opening, and just a little time with the birthday person. And I had asked Joe, I said, what would you like for your birthday? And as you know, we've had a bit of a summer over here. It wasn't the Lana Del Rey just sitting outside in the shade, eating, I don't know, apricots or whatever she does in her. It wasn't any of that. It was all stress and problems and difficulty. So when the evening of his birthday rolled around, I said, well, what do you want to do for your birthday? He said, I want a clear calendar. I just don't want to have to be any place at a certain time. I need to relax. I need a free calendar. And this birthday thing is one more thing on my calendar. And I could tell, when you've been married, this year, it will be 22 years. I could tell that we were reaching a tipping point of impatience explosion. I could just tell that he was about to mentally snap. So I was trying to hurry things along. Now, he doesn't like traditional cakes and sweet stuff. And I had tried to get a big thing of his favorite kind of ice cream, but they didn't have it. They just had these little tiny personal sizes. So we had like 6 little tiny personal sized ice creams, but they just come out of the fridge, so you couldn't really use them. And I had just one of the kids get it because I was busy too. And then he does like brownies, even though he doesn't like cake. So I said, all right, get some brownies. So I take out the brownies and the ice cream. He's like, this ice cream's going to take too long to eat. So, cause it was still really hard from being frozen. So we scoot away the ice cream and he's like, all right, start singing. And I was like, well, shouldn't I feel like the kids want us to, we should light candles. And he's like, oh, what, just get this over with. So he also, we have a lot of preferences in this family. Typical, again, my husband's very type A, typical of this personality. He also doesn't want to eat too much sweet stuff, even the sweet stuff he likes. So he cuts the brownie in half. And that's all he'll eat. And I was like, oh, but maybe we want to see. He's like, I'm only having this half brownie. Okay, all right, half a brownie. So then the kids wanted us to light a candle. But I don't know if you ever feel this with your spouse where it's like in a movie when the bomb at the center of the city is about to go off, where it's like 5, 4, 3. I was short on time before he just blew a fuse on this. And so I'm scrambling through to try to find a basic candle, and I couldn't find one. But I found one that we had used for my kid's birthday that was just a number 1. And so I shove it in the brownie, and he is barely controlling his desire to just run out of this house and go to Home Depot or something. He's barely controlling this. And I said, oh, I need to find the lighter. And I couldn't find a lighter anywhere. And I can feel the tension radiating off of him. So finally I was like, do you want us to skip? He's like, yes, skip so Caitlin, pull up that picture. This is, remember, we now have a thing where if you're listening on audio, in the show notes, you can click on the link to this exact episode. So you can pull up the video version for free, of course, on this exact episode. This was my husband's birthday celebration with the unlit 1 candle. He barely tolerated us singing happy birthday, and we sang it quickly because we sensed his patience is wearing thin. We're like, happy birthday to you, and he's like, okay, well, all right, that was good, thank you guys, and left to go do his thing, run his errands, or go over his to-do list or whatever. Family culture, leave that up for 1 second. So if you this picture here of the half a piece of brownie impatiently being held on a fork with a sideways children's 1 candle in it that is not lit. And it was already, my husband felt like it was too much. We had wasted too much time and we had done too much. This is way more extravagance than he had the patience for. That tells you something about our family culture. That tells you a bit about it. And I'm similar. I'm actually pretty similar to him. Okay, you can take it down. I am pretty similar. And so I remember I used to back in the blogging days, reading classic literature aloud to your children was the big thing. And that's what all the homeschool moms thought that we should be doing. These books. It really hit the tangent alert button because this is interesting. I have trouble tolerating books that were written before the invention of the word processor. There is a big difference between books written early 1980s and since, and books before that, because when you had to type it out on a typewriter, or even before that, write it by hand, editing was just not the streamlined process it is when you can just scroll through the pages and copy, paste, highlight, whatever. The other thing about old books that were written before, say, 1920, is people did not travel that much. There wasn't air travel. I mean, if you look at some of the early 19th century stuff, train travel wasn't even that much of a thing. So if you lived in, I don't know, central Germany, you had probably never seen the ocean. Or if you lived in Texas, you'd never seen snow, probably. So a lot of these writers, you get into it and it's like, she stepped upon the eve and looked at the moon, and the snow fell down, the crystalline flakes. and we go on for 3 pages talking about what snow looks like in the moonlight, because it was a sad, sad time when people did not have TikTok, where if you've never seen snow, you get on TikTok and you find out what snow looks like. It's very simple. And we travel. We have air travel. Most people have been able to be around enough that they've seen the ocean. They've seen snow. They know what the hellish Texas heat feels like. But that was not the case in those books. Okay, so that's the end of my tangent. But I'm just trying to defend why I've always had a hard time with 19th century and early 20th century literature, and I think it is for those 2 reasons. That I don't need 3 pages about what the rolling hills look like. I got it. Rolling hills. There was a fog. I'm locked in. Let's move on. And yeah, just there was some of these books. I need the English translation. I know they're in English, but I need the edited down. Let's get to the point, you know? So back when it's amazing how little I knew myself back in the day when my kids were little. And so knowing what you know about this family, this background that I've given you on my husband, just call that to mind. Have that present in your mind. Now call to mind everything you know about my personality. Consider that each one of our 6 children they're a combination of us, and a couple of them are more intense than we are. And then also call to mind that we had 6 kids in 8 years. So we had lots of little kids, very close in age. With all of this top of mind, I would like for you to consider that I went through a surprisingly long phase where I thought that reading classic literature to my children is something that our family should do. And I felt like a bad mom if we didn't do it. So I tried to make everyone sit there for it. My kids were like, it was like they were just like squirming, and then they'd start hitting each other, and then they'd start jumping around, and I'd be like, no, this is great. Listen, it's only been 6 pages of what the moors look like in England. Okay, listen, this girl, she got upset, and so she ran outside in a rainstorm. We only have 1 more page of what the rain felt like. It's like it was a warm evening with yonder breeze blowing through. My children were losing their minds, and I was like, I'm the worst mom. I'm the worst mom because my other friends, like this was in the blogging era, and they would put pictures of their little children just wrapped with attention. Just, that's how lovely. One of the first things that made me understand family culture is I met one of my blogging friends in person who was always talking about that. And we would discuss things like how to get your kids to behave in church. And I was like, I don't know, my kids are maniacs. This is crazy. And she said, what I do is I simply tell my children to behave. That's all you have to do. And so then, guys, I met her. Her children were so calm. I wondered if they had been drugged. I mean, they were so calm. They came to visit our house. They sat quietly. They perhaps picked up one toy to examine it and put it back where it went. They hardly ever spoke. They hardly ever said one word. And it wasn't like they were afraid of their mom, like she was a crazy disciplinarian and they were afraid to speak. Guys, that was just their nature. Some people have quiet, still children who love quiet, still things. I saw this gal recently. She was posting that she and quite a few of her kids have gotten into crochet, and that is something they like to do together. Everybody sits quietly in the living room and just they put the needle in, and then they thread the thread through, put the needle in, thread. I die. I don't have that focus. I can't do it. I need to be thinking about 20 different things and checking email and checking TikTok and checking YouTube. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. But that works for her. Their family culture is a very quiet, reflective, quiet, cerebral culture. Like, we're cerebral, but we're manic cerebral. Like, we're like, cerebral on crack. But they're like cerebral, like let's pour our cups of tea and reflect on this passage from Jane Eyre that we read this morning when we all woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning to greet the day. That's their culture. That works for them. They enjoy gardening. They enjoy a lot of very quiet, still activities. Now, notice that they are different than my friend who's into sports. My trainer friend Dana, that quiet crocheting, gardening, reading aloud 18th, 19th century literature, that would not work for Dana's family. That would drive Dana crazy if they had to do that. They want to be out and about at some sports games, 3 games over the weekend. They're crushing it. The team is winning. And then they go on a hike. That's who they are. They really like that. I die in either one of those situations. I can't do all these games on weekends. I can't do hikes. And I should say, if I had a kid who was really passionate about something, yes, of course, we would support them. I would go to all their stuff. But that is it. I have recognized that's not really our family culture, and there hasn't been a lot of demand for it among the kids. And vice versa. I mean, my friend who has the very quiet temperament with the children with the quiet temperament, that probably wouldn't be a fit in her family to serve her husband a half slice of brownie with a unlit 1 candle on it because nobody can sit still long enough to do anything else. That wouldn't work for her. I think they would probably, seriously, they would very much enjoy looking up a recipe from 1850s England and recreating it with the exact supplies, including crushing the cocoa beans for the chocolate powder. Genuinely, they would love that. And I have come to see that's not, that we might, maybe, I mean, cooking has always been a little fraught with us, but that's just not our family culture. So the way you can find that is, the way you can find your family culture is to just start looking around for things that you do, quirks that you and your children have, that you look around and you don't see other people doing and having. It just stands out to you as different, and start to develop it and talk to your spouse about it or journal about it or whatever, because it will really relieve a lot of stress for you when you can say, we are this type of people. And next time you see some influencer talking about her perfect life and they're doing this and their children she just won first place in the piano competition, and you have that pang of, I'm a horrible mother. Why are my children winning first place in the piano competition? You can just say, does this fit with our family culture? Is this something we should consider? Actually, music is a good example. I know this was big in the homeschool world. There are quite a few families that music is very much part of the soul of their family. They love to sing together. Everybody gets out instruments and they all play instruments together. And that's great. And so that family, again, wouldn't thrive as a sports family, wouldn't thrive as the quiet reading crochet family, because they're a music family culture. Some of them even have family bands. So it really will bring you so much peace to start to define it. And I would say it could be a fun date night thing. I think this could actually be a lot of fun. Next time you're hanging out with your spouse, and if, for those of you who aren't married, you could just do it with journaling or talk to a friend. Actually write it down. Even if you think you know what it is in your head, you would be surprised at how, when you actually go to write it down, it might not be as clear as you think it is. But so for us, my husband and I have determined we're kind of the quirky intellectual family. We get in long conversations about just ancient history and different wars, and we're techies. So that's one of the reasons that screen time has always not been that big of a deal for us, because we just like technology. We like to see what the latest and greatest is. We like for our kids to know about that sort of thing. So we just have that kind of high tech background, sort of cerebral. We like to think about things. And we like certain outdoorsy things. By we, I mean not me, but my family and I go along, like sailing. That sailing is a good fit for us. And I think it's because sailing has kind of an engineering component to it. There is a up in your head cerebral side of sailing of, okay, we have to put this at 90 degrees so that the wind will catch it. And so that's it's a combination of being a nerd, but being outside. So that is the right kind of sport for us. But just find your family culture, and it will help you make those trade-offs. And it will help you feel less guilty next time your friend or your sister-in-law or your neighbor or someone on Instagram is doing something that looks amazing and fun. You can just do that litmus test. Is this a fit with our family culture? If it's not, then whatever, great for them. That's part of their family culture. It's not ours. And if it is, you can say, okay, well, my life is hell right now and I have no time and money for any of this, but let's put it on the list. Like, you can save that reel to your camera roll or whatever and say, I would like to revisit this. This is something that I would like to do at some point. Like I said, there was some sailing trip that a family took that I thought, okay, we can't do this right now, but this is the kind of thing that would be fun to invite some friends out and really have like a nice dinner on the boat and all that. So that's the kind of thing when I see that, I think, okay, that one might actually be a fit for us. And, I'll be mildly jealous that they can do that right now, but I'll make a note that this one is for us and I'd like to do that one day. And I'm just going to be inspired by it. Okay. Let's see. All right. I'm going to save. Okay, there's a topic I'll save till next week. It's great, but all right, let's go into the Yaya parenting method, where you win as a parent when you have nothing you need to win as a parent. Again, for those of you who erroneously skipped the beginning of the episode, my mother-in-law grew up dirt poor, no running water. Just came from just a pretty rough background on all levels. She wanted to break the cycle with my husband, and she very, very, very much did. By the way, I have some great stories about her in my new comedy special, Shabby Chic. Just search YouTube for Shabby Chic comedy special. It is free. You can watch it. And I have some amazing, all 100% true stories about her. So, okay, hang on, meat horn. Yeah, I think that was a moose hair. Okay, I've got to stop. Okay, I really think they didn't mean for, okay. It's for display. It's for display. Hang on. It seemed like such a good idea. Who could have seen that would go wrong? Drinking out of an animal horn. What could possibly go wrong with that? Okay. So I got to know Yaya very, very well over the years, and I've heard so many stories, and I've talked to Joe a lot about what were the things in his, what made it work. I mean, how does someone who comes from that kind of a rough background and has so few resources of what society would tell you need to be a good mother. Man, my mother-in-law, she was the anti-influencer because on top of just being crazy busy and just working all the time, working 2 jobs, she would clean office buildings at night, and she would need to take Joe with her to just help her do it faster. So, I mean, this was a school night. He had homework, and he had to do his own laundry and the dishes and all that stuff. And now he had to go clean office buildings with her and get up in the morning and get himself up for school because she was tired because she had to work all day. I mean, an influencer's head would explode to see that, because we're surrounded by these images of motherhood. And I've said this before, that tell you that the only proper love language for you to share love with your children is to have a perfectly clean house and to love cleaning house and to cook elaborate organic recipes and to love doing that. And those are valid love languages. If that is how you like to love your family, you can do that. But they're not the only ones. But modern culture tries to tell us that is motherhood. I mean, that is it. I've said before that sometimes when I've been interviewed on podcasts, I've had people say, "Oh, haha, you're one of those moms who hates being a mom. You can't stand these kids, but you're a mom anyway." And a couple people have said that to me. And I said, I have literally never once complained about my children in my comedy or otherwise, because I don't have complaints. I love being a mom. What are you talking about? And they'll say, well, you talk about how you hate cleaning and cooking. And I say, what does that, yeah, I do, but that doesn't mean I don't love being a mom. But that's how silly our culture is, that they think that's what it means to love your kids. If you don't love vacuuming, you must not love little Timmy over there. It's insane. It's the stupidest thing in the world. So Yaya checked none of the boxes that modern influencer culture would have you check, because on top of having no money and working 2 jobs and having no time, she also was she makes me look as neurotypical as it gets. She had a very strong ADHD streak. When she would come to help us, she would take all the silverware from the dishwasher, and when she was unloading the dishwasher, and just throw it in the silverware drawer, just drop it in there, no sorting at all. And I do think that God sends the right people to marry each other for the right cultural fit for their families, because it really didn't bother me. But when I posted a picture of it on my blog one time, I had all these women saying, I'd lose my mind. I would flip out if my mother-in-law did that. And I thought it kind of makes sense. I mean, you're opening the same drawer anyway. You can kind of hunt and peck and find what you need. But yeah, so she was not keeping a perfectly influencer perfect home on top of everything else. I think she had some pretty serious ADHD on top of everything else. So there was a lot of chaos, a lot of mess, and yet 10 out of 10 for parenting. And I would say, as someone who has been, like Joe and I have been dating for almost 25 years now. So I know this man pretty well. She got him through childhood basically unscathed. I mean, he just doesn't have the issues that the rest of us do. 10 out of 10 for psychological fitness coming out of childhood. Okay, so how did she do it? And this is what I mean. I buried the lead on this. I should have covered this topic 5 years ago. Here's what she did. And this is I think this is such an important lesson that everyone should do, even if they have plenty of resources. The secret to my mother-in-law's genius was that she came up with a very strong and a very specific vision. She sold her son on the why behind it. Why should you do this? She reinforced it early and often, just always, anytime she had a chance, just when they were watching TV shows, when they were just mowing the yard, when they were cleaning up the house, she would repeat it over and over again. But she delegated the execution of that vision to her son. She understood very wisely. I mean, this is like Fortune 500 CEO level thinking here. She very wisely recognized that as a single mother, she couldn't do it. I mean, there was not an option for her to sit down and help her son with his calculus homework. I mean, not an option, if nothing else, because she got pulled out of high school. She didn't even finish high school. So there is no way that she could sit down with him every night. She didn't have the time, and she just didn't have the background for that. And as I mentioned, she was not able to go to plenty of his sports games because she had to work. There were bills to be paid that weren't going to get paid if she didn't work. She was a real estate agent. So oftentimes weekends were pretty busy times for her, showing houses. So she wisely said, as any good leader, any good CEO would say, she said, okay, I can't. I don't have the resources to make this happen. But what I can do is tell my son everything I know about how to make it happen. And again, sell him, repeat the vision, sell him on the why, and delegate that to him. So I'll tell you what it looked like in practice so that you can kind of wrap your mind around how this played out. Her big thing was she knew that he did not want to be in poverty, that she had grown up in poverty, and she was not one of these fools that's like, money doesn't make you happy. She's like, money would make me happy. It would make me very happy. Give me money right now. Like, shut up. I think she yelled at someone at Walmart one time who said that. She's like, give me your money then. Here, let me take it. It'll make me happy. If it's not making you happy, give it to me. And so she realized that the crushing poverty that they were in and that she came from that's problem number one. That's the big one that you want to solve. Because if you have more money, then you have more time and space to think and all that. So she just told him as often as she could, you don't want to end up in the financial situation that I am in. Like, look at this. And she would bring him into, in I think a healthy way. She didn't put her problems on him, which is a bad thing to do, but she would just let him know. It's very hard to pay the bills. I do not like having to work 2 jobs. Trust me, you don't want this life. And she presented to him a positive vision. So not just this life sucks, you don't want it, but she said, look, imagine if you could marry a stand-up comedian. No, I'm kidding. She said, look, imagine if you could have a decent house and you could just pay your bills and have some money left over at the end of the month, get a new car if you need it, get the car repaired. Like, imagine if you could just live a stable middle-class life and you don't have to work 2 jobs and you make enough money that this, your basic needs are taken care of and you don't have to stress out about it. And she got him excited about that vision. And so then in their day-to-day, with the sacrifices they had to make, this is key. Listen, hit the listen up sound effect. If you were distracted, get undistracted. When there were moments of suboptimal things playing out, when there were moments of sacrifice, such as my husband had as a kid, he had a big baseball game, and again, his dad was not part of the picture, and she couldn't be there, so there would be no one to cheer for him. She would take him aside and she would say, I hate this, but I have to get this money to pay the bills. This is not great. I so wish I could be there, but listen, we are building towards something. The reason you're playing this sport is we can put it on your college resume. You can meet people. You're more networked in the community. You're learning how to work with people. This is all building toward a life where you break the cycle, where you get us out of this. And every time, my husband felt bummed out about, he had to get a job early. He had to work a lot. He had to mow the lawn, do the dishes, do the laundry. There was a lot that he had to do to keep that house running because she was working so much. She would always keep his eye on the vision. We are working towards something. You are breaking the cycle. You're getting out of this. You're getting out of the mud, as the rappers say. She didn't quote rappers, that's me. But you're getting out of the mud. You're getting out of the hood. And so what it did is it took hardship. It took something that might make a kid sad, like a parent not being at the baseball game, but it gave it meaning. And when I say my mother-in-law was a genius, I'm not even, it's not really hyperbole, because there are a lot of books that have made a lot of money for their authors that make this basic point, that this is very interesting human psychology that they talk a lot about in sales and in business, which is when people are doing something that is difficult or painful, if they can infuse it with meaning, if they can feel like there is a purpose behind their pain and suffering, it tends to not be that bad. In fact, it turns into a love-generating act. That's actually a great Catholic concept too, that we can turn our pain and our sacrifice into a love-generating act, as Christ did. Hit the surprise Catholic insights sound effect. But that was truly a genius move that she did. It is the combination of giving her son a positive vision for his future. She would say, look, 10, 15 years from now, you're going to be making money. You're going to have college degrees. You're going to have, you're going to have a nice house and a nice car, and you won't have to deal with any of this. And then when the hard times would come, she would remind him of that. We're building. This is what it takes. This is what it takes to get out the mud. This is what it takes to level up. This is what it takes to break cycles. Like, yep, I know you're tired. I know you have a lot of homework to do, and you had to do the laundry, and you got to get a job and all that. But this is what it takes to achieve this better future. And imagine if she hadn't done that. And here is what, you know what? Hit the sound effect. This is just so important. I didn't even realize this was my main point. This is my main point. If you only listen to one thing in this episode, how is it free? We don't know. This is the one. If my mother-in-law had given in to mom guilt culture, I think it would have deeply harmed her son psychologically. I think it would have caused tremendous psychological harm. Because think about that. Imagine the scenarios that I have painted for you of what went on in this house. Think about how positive and what a leader she was, providing the vision that this is all for something. We are going places. Now imagine that same scenario, but Yaya buys into mom guilt culture. So when she sees her son doing laundry, when he's tired from the job that he has to have because they have no money and he's studying hard so that he can go to Yale, when she sees that, she's down in the dumps and she's sad because she saw an influencer who's living the soft life, and she's sad because he's, she wasn't able to do a vase of flowers and keep a garden. And imagine if there had been influencers back in her day and she had let them get in her head, she would have lost her leader energy. She would have lost the vision, and her guilt would have dragged them both down. What turned their very sad and difficult and dire situation into one of the greatest parenting victories I've maybe ever seen, probably ever, is that she never lost sight of the vision, and she always brought leader energy. Even when she was down in the dumps, there were times when she would cry over her checkbook because she just didn't have the money in her bank account to pay all the bills. She had down moments, but she never lost the vision, and she never lost that leader energy. Sometimes she even had to say it through tears, but she was like, we're getting out of this. It's horrible now, but you are on the path to get out of this. We're doing all of this so that you don't have to live this life. And imagine if he'd had to do all that work and all that difficulty, but she hadn't given him meaning behind it. It was just, yeah, we're poor. It sucks. That's tough. That is much harder. And it is not infused with purpose. And then I think it might have gotten the wheels turning in his head. Like, man, his dad really wasn't in touch very much, and his dad wasn't really part of his life. And he might have started thinking about that. But as it was, look, these bad circumstances don't matter because we're getting out of them. So that combination, and I'll say it again because I think it's so important, setting a positive vision for the future, reminding your kid of it frequently, that this is what we're trying to do, this is what we're trying to get to, and then infusing the difficult things with meaning. Meaning you're all of these difficult things you're going to are going to help you achieve this greater vision. That is how you take unideal circumstances and turn them into a triumph for your kids. And he took that pretty far, going from, no education background. He graduated from Yale in 3 years with honors. And then he went to law school at Columbia and then MBA from Stanford. The fact that we don't have money is just, but I will say, we're fine financially. We're not, like that. I think she was surprised that that he didn't go for the riches. But I think that was part of the great upbringing too, that there wasn't bitterness about his situation or not having a father or whatever. So my husband was in a position where when it came time for him to start his own family, he could just say, yeah, family's great. I would like to work less and spend more time with my family. That would be great. And I think it is that because his hardships were so infused with purpose and meaning, that is how he was able to do that. And by the way, it was such a departure from his family culture. When he got the acceptance letter from Yale, this was before the internet or anything. So they said, yeah, come on, you're in. And so he had to drive from Houston, Texas to New Haven, Connecticut. And on his way up there, he thought, what if it's a prank? Like, what if this, I mean, that's a long drive. And he was like, what if one of my friends, like, you know, is pranking me? Because there was no way really to confirm. I mean, he got this letter. And like, for example, his truck broke down on the way to Yale, and neither he nor his mother had the money to fix it. It was like 2 hours outside of New Haven, and his truck broke down. And in that case, his dad did come through and help him out. But I mean, that is the background they came from. Couldn't fix the car while he was driving to Yale. And what I have seen in his upbringing is here's kind of the bottom line is, one, it is so important to let go of mom guilt, because it's probably the most toxic thing about Instagram influencer mom culture. Because another one of the stupid ideas out there right now is that feeling guilty is a love language. Like you must be a good mom. If you feel like crap all the time about your parenting, you must love your kids. Wow, you care a lot. And I feel that too. Sometimes I do. I feel there's almost a feeling of virtue. Like, wow, I care so much about motherhood. I'm just beating myself up all the time. I tell myself I suck every day because that's how much I love my kids. That is not what kids need. Kids need a vision, and they need leader energy, and they need their hardships to be infused with meaning. And when you are in this just sad sack, I'm doing such a bad job, that is not what kids need. The analogy I've used before is you are the pilot of their plane. Think about that. You have total control over their lives. They're on this plane. They can't pilot it. You're the pilot. Now, I want you to think, if you're, especially with everything in the news lately about airplanes, if you're getting on a plane and you greet the pilot and he says, I don't know, I don't think I'm a very good pilot. I mean, I try, but it never works out for me. I'm the worst. Okay, nobody likes me as a pilot. You're getting out your rosary. You're like, well, it's time to meet God. Is there a priest on the plane? Because I need to do my last confession. I mean, that would be terrifying. But that's what you're doing to your kids with mom guilt. You are literally like the pilot of a plane. Like, well, I suck, but I guess I'll just go into the cockpit today since nobody likes me. I guess I'll find a way to get us over to London. Like, you're like, this is terrifying. You know, that's what you're doing to your kids with mom guilt. You need to be that pilot who's like, lucky you. You're on the best plane that's flying today. We're going to London and it's going to be a great flight. That is the energy you want from your pilot. That's the energy your kids want from you. And for all Yaya's hardships, and sometimes she had to say it through tears, that is the energy she brought. She was the pilot. Imagine the ADHD pilot. She's dropping things like, where's the cockpit? Oh, yeah, there it is. All right, well, I'll figure it out. But you would have a confidence of like, I think she's actually going to figure it out. I mean, she knows where we're going. I mean, I think she'll yell at air traffic control a little bit, but I think she's going to get us there, actually. That is the energy your kids want from you. And when you see moments about their lives that make you sad, and we all go through those as a parent, you see your kid going through something and you just think, man, those influencers that I follow, their kids don't have to deal with any of this. This is so sad. This is not the childhood I wanted. I wanted them to have this other experience. When you can just give them a vision of how this is all building to something great and beautiful, it changes everything. It changes everything. And then the final thing about it that I think is really important is, and this goes to, I was saying, for my billionaire listeners who, money's not an object. Maybe you can easily stay home with kids. You have all the time in the world. You don't have a day job. I would say this really, what I have seen with my husband, I've recommended to all my friends, even people who are very comfortably and easily able to stay home with kids, I think it's actually a really good thing to find your blue flame, to find your passion, a hobby or a part-time job or whatever, because obviously what my husband experienced, he was on the extreme end of a parent needing to delegate things to their kids. Like for example, my mother-in-law didn't even know what the SATs were. She knew that he was supposed to take them. She didn't know anything about them. So she had to say, I don't know, you figure it out. But he packed his own lunch. He washed his own clothes. So he was on the extreme end of delegation. But our silly culture today tells us that the way to love your kids is to do everything for them, to pack their lunch, to set out their clothes, to just do all this kind of stuff for them. And I think it is actually really good and healthy for kids to delegate to them, to say, you know what, I'm so crazy busy. I need you to set out your clothes for the dance tomorrow or whatever. And usually when people advocate for this, they say it's because it fosters independence. And I guess, I mean, yes, but what I focus on more is it makes kids feel needed in a healthy way. Again, you are the pilot of the plane. You don't want to parentify your kids. You don't want to make them feel like you are not in control and they have to run this family. We're not talking about that. We're talking about in the situation where you are very clearly in charge, you're running things, you have a vision, it's all good, but you're busy, you have some things that you're into. And so, yeah, you need the kid to get themselves up in the morning for school or set out their own clothes or pack their own lunch. I think that is a very healthy dynamic because that kind of service, it is the glue that really bonds families together. It makes kids feel needed. Like, yeah, I'm doing things. Like I saved my mom time because I packed my own lunch. I think it's actually a very healthy and good thing. And I have seen situations where when good-hearted moms that think they're doing the right thing, moms who have the means to 100% stay home, they think they're doing the right thing when they set aside all hobbies and all interests and all activities. They spend 0% time building things for themselves. They are all about the kids 24/7. It is not great for the kids. I have not seen positive outcomes with that. I think it makes the kids feel almost unnecessary to the family. It's like mom is just literally doing everything for me. And I do think there is a lack of independence and there's kind of a lack of, it's hard to articulate, but I think there's a little bit of a lack of purpose. If mom is just doing every single thing, the shoes are set out, the clothes are set out, the cleaning is done by mom, she makes the bed, whatever. It does give kids a little bit of a sense of purposelessness. And I think we can go into this more in another episode, but I think another interesting shift is if you think it is virtuous as a mom to not pursue your hobbies, interests, or a job or whatever, to not do anything like that. And so everyone knows you could and frankly kind of want to do every single thing, but you're just giving your kids a chore list because it's like, I don't know, they need to learn how to do things. That is still lacking that camaraderie and that purpose. You can give the kids the same chore list, but if it is with the spirit of, hey guys, listen, I've gotten back into oil painting. I am so excited about it. I have 3 classes this week. I'm doing an intensive class. So I need you guys to, I need you guys to make your own lunches and set out your own clothes. So think about that. In this case, the kids they're doing the same chores, but now these chores are a blessing to their mother. They are helping their mother do this thing that she's really excited about. And now that has that sense of purpose. It has this sense of we're all coming up together. You've given them a vision for what their futures can look like. Mom's now excited about rekindling her oil painting or whatever it is she's into. And there's this feeling that everyone has this sense of purpose. Everyone is coming up together. That is what can lead to really, really positive childhoods. And in all the families, now being in my 40s, I've seen a lot of families go from knowing their kids when their kids were toddlers to now their kids are off in college. I've seen a lot of outcomes for families. And I will say that the families that have a little bit of that hardship and give their kids that sense of purpose, they tend to have much better outcomes than the kids that, you know, the misguided mom literally did every single thing for the kids. Like they do not have as good of outcomes as the kids who kind of went through it a little bit. So for all that is to say, for those of you who are struggling, you got no time, no money, broke as a joke. Yeah, I'm telling you, you can have actually an incredible outcome for your kids. Just set the vision, remind them of it. And every time your kids go through something difficult, just connect it back to that vision that we're going someplace and we're going to get there. And this is going to turn out great for you. And just watch how it transforms everything. How is it free? We can't figure it out. Join my Patreon, patreon.com/thisisjen. We do an after party that we are going into right now where I keep talking either about this subject or something else related. And you can get all of that plus the Village Hustle level of Patreon at patreon.com/thisisjen. And I will be back with you next week.